Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Marshall live, and I am live. And in this video, we're going to be talking about medicine retreats. How long should you go for them? What are they? How do they work? What part of the country? Are they just for men? Are they just for women? We're going to discuss all things that have to do with plant medicine and medicine retreats today with my good friend, my spiritual coach, Heagh-Avritt, who we're going to bring on in just a second. But I want to leave you with these quick thoughts before we get started with this episode, Gillen gang. At the time of recording this video, I'm getting ready to hop on a plane tomorrow to head out to Dallas for an event and then quick turnaround and coming back. The reason I'm telling you this is because it's right in the same vein of what we're going to be discussing today, which is, I believe, one of the most powerful things that you can do to change your life. I mean, we could go all day. That's what this podcast is about, right? It's helping you realize it's possible to become whoever you want. But what I'm saying is we've got to understand that one of the most powerful things that you can do in your development of business, personal, self-mastery, whatever it is go to 3, 4, 5 events a year. And they can be of all different things. What I will say first and foremost from my own experience over the last 8 years of entrepreneurship is I wish what somebody would have told me in the beginning is to diversify the types of events that I was going to. And here's what I mean. In the beginning, dude, when I was living out in San Diego, 2015, 2016, 2017, man, I was going to an event multiple times a week, right? I was going to so many events, but the thing that was Gillen Gang is they were all business events. And it was great, and it helped me build and scale my business. But there was a massive part of my life that was unattended for, that I didn't pay any attention to. And lo and behold, then by 2019, you see the crash and burn and the mental fatigue and the toxic breakdown and the self-destruction and self-sabotage. And what I wish somebody would have told me is they did tell me in the beginning, like, hey, get to 3 or 4 or 5 events a year. It'll change your life. Get around people who are like you. It will change your life. Being in the physical energy and in the same rooms, in the right rooms with the right people, as I always say, right? It will change your life. What I wish they would have told me is you got to diversify it. And so you guys are seeing me as I've moved into being a dad and a committed partner, business owner. We're starting to have more conversations about what type of events are out there. What is it that we can do? Having more conversations about not just the material world of let's build a business, but how do we fucking wake up in the morning and be happy and feel good and not have these crazy thoughts that some people are having. We just had a VIP guest out here this weekend for Kirsty's women's retreat. And she got a message that one of her girlfriends killed themselves. And I'm like, you all know, Gillen, that Gillen Gang, that's why I started this whole mission. I just wanted people to stop fucking killing themselves. You guys know how important it is to me. And what I wish I would have known in the beginning with good information, which is you got to get to 3 or 4 events a year. I wish somebody would have told me that there's other areas of my life I need to focus on. And that's why we're bringing Coach Herb on today. So without further ado, we're going to add him to the stream. And we're going to talk about all the things I should have been paying attention to. Hey, Coach Herb, what's up, man?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Love the conversation. Thank you for having me on again. Looking forward to this.
Dude, I am loving our weekly conversations that we're having here on the show. And I'll tell you, Herb, there's a lot of things that you and I have discussed as we've decided to do this weekly content together. And it's in my mind, it's morphed a little bit. However, I just want to highlight to the audience is that we came together as coach and client, but now it's more like what I learned from you and just the way that you are and the way that you be, Herb, and the way that you coach. It's causing me to show up. And so I just want to publicly say first, before we get into this episode, that I truly, honestly, brother, man, I really appreciate you being here with me every week and you deciding to go live with me and to re-spark this conversation has set ablaze the rest of my life and brought back to life something that I've been wanting to get back to doing for a very long time, which is producing a live show, creating a podcast, having conversations with people who are smarter than me, like you, that can teach me something that my audience can learn. This whole entire show, Herb, started out in 2016 because I was too broke to hire a coach. So what I did is I created a brand. I created a live TV show, and I used my energy to make it credible. And then I just would go out to the people who I wanted to hire as coaches, and I would be like, hey, yo, do you want to come on my show? Like, let me interview you. I want to share your message with the world. And then I would be like, so how do you exactly do blah? And then, I'm over here like, so I just want to say, man, that you've stoked something inside of me that is just, it's going to change my life and change a lot of lives. And so I'm stoked to have you back, man. How are you today?
I'm actually doing pretty good. And I would like to say one thing about something you said is I'm not necessarily smarter than you. I just have more information in some areas. So in what you do, in the way you build business, you're way smarter than I am. So that goes in lots of different directions. So,
I appreciate that. But you saying that kind of ties me back into the episodes that we've been shooting. So if you guys haven't listened to those, make sure you go back and catch the episodes that Herb and I have done so far. Episode number 136 is a particularly powerful one. It's the last one that we shot. Go back and check that out. But Herb, I appreciate that. And you may be right. And that's that, like we've talked about a number of times, like the struggle that I have and that you have too, is that half the time I'm like, yeah, let's fucking build business. And the other half the time I'm like, none of this is real. None of this matters. Like, what am I doing? Right. And so, yeah, I do appreciate it. But one of the reasons I want to have you on the show is because a lot of my network, they're good at things like business. And, the first version of Marshall Live was good at business, but there's a lot of things I wasn't good at. And I didn't even realize that I needed to pay attention to, Herb. And now that's something that you and I are here to talk about today is all those things that us driven entrepreneurs who are always performing, we want to be more, do more, have more. But are we taking the time? And I know it's like a cliche trending thing right now, like mental health matters, but like for real, man, like people are killing themselves at an alarming rate.
Yes.
Or they're settling into their lives and it's nothing. Like they might as well be dead already. And so what I've been discovering, Herb, is there's an entire spiritual side to this thing called life. And we've had very in-depth conversations up to this point. So if you haven't listened to them yet, go back and listen to them, you guys. They're on YouTube. They're on every podcasting station. But Herb, I've started to realize over the last 2.5 years, and you know this, like how much spirituality is a real thing. So before we dive in today, last episode we talked about the power of getting together, coming together as a tribe, as people, as men, coming together as women, like just what it means in the healing process to come together. When we ended last episode, we talked about, okay, well, how do we know what kind of retreats to go to? Like, how do we know what we're even looking for? Now, I brought you in as a plant medicine expert and as a psychospiritual coach because I want to get your point of view because we're all business and stuff over here. I get the other thing, but I want to hear from your side of the point, your other side, like the other side of me who's like, none of this matters. It's just about love. I want to talk to you today about that. And so first and foremost, explain to the audience, maybe they haven't heard any of our previous episodes, just, shortly, what is a psychospiritual coach and what is it that people are missing or maybe not even understanding because you don't know what you don't know? Like, what are we missing in the business world today? We're having success with lots of money, but too many of us feel fucking empty and we're not present with our family, with the people we love. We suck at being a friend. So what's going on? What does a psychospiritual coach do? And what are we missing here as a business world?
A psychospiritual coach helps a person go inside of themselves and find out what is important to them. Not what they think is important, not what society tells them is important. Because, society says, oh, you got to get rich. You got to have the car. You got to have the hot girl. You got to have all of this stuff. That's it's in the media. It's on the television. It's in the ads. It's in the songs that they force us to listen to on the radio, unless you get off on your own out of all of that stuff. So those messages are pounded into our head all day long. The consumerism, the buy stuff, you got to get after it. And what happens is people lose touch with themselves. They lose touch with the voice of God in their head that's like, no, I want to go over here, but business. I feel like I'm missing something here. Oh, wait, I have to do business. And so our society pulls us away from ourselves and we start to feel hollow. We start to feel empty. People do in themselves. And, there's more factors to it as well. So there are environmental factors and weather factors that have a lot to do with that as well. But if you are weak and you haven't been building yourself up, then when these other external events hit you and you're not prepared for it, then it can break through your resolve walls and make you do things that you normally wouldn't or actually aren't necessarily in your best interest. So a psychospiritual coach, we help you find that. And then when we start to work with you and help you figure out where it is you want to go, we help you build your life in that direction. Now, we don't necessarily say, business is bad and take that away, but we help you make that part of your life instead of all of your life. And we might even be able to help you direct it into a path that is more spiritually beneficial for you, that makes you feel more fulfilled. and how to bring other things into that as well, instead of just this one singular focus of I have to get stuff. Because one of the things that people find is once they get all of that stuff, it's like, oh, I made it. I got all of this stuff. And it's like, now what? I'm not happy. I don't feel good. They said that this would make me feel good, that they said this would make me whole and make me feel better. And here I am. I have all of this stuff and I'm hollow and horrible inside. And where do I go? And sometimes, and that really happens a lot, really between the ages of like 27 and 30. And you know, like there's so many famous artists and musicians who around the age of 27 leave the planet. And so, and these famous musicians like had it all. They had like huge fan bases, they had millions of dollars, they had all the cars, all the women, and then they still end themselves. And it's at that, around that age when the brain finally finishes developing and starts looking back and it's like, hey, what is this about me?
100%. Yeah, I mean, in a Western world, in Western society, I mean, that's like literally that's what we're built for. Like more. I mean, it's literally predicated on the people who crossed, who settled this country, who crossed the ocean because they wanted to have more. They wanted to be able to become more. And it's almost like it's starting to now like turn in the other way, right? This constant consumers and this constant keeping up with the Joneses. And you and I know, we're going to get into this and we've discussed already, but none of it's really real. Yes, you need money to play the game. And yes, I would rather have been born in America and I would rather be an entrepreneur, like all those things. Yes, I would rather do all those things. I'm not vilifying that. But what I'm saying, and Herb was just explaining, and which I wish I would have known that there were coaches for this back then. Hey, what's up, Mama Mo? Thanks for hopping on, girl. It's good to meet you this weekend. So for those of you, or what I'm saying, Herb, is that, I wish I would have known this back in the past because, in the Western society, that's all we're taught. The commercials, like you said, it's all fed in there. And so we automatically assume without even having to think about it. 'Cause it's like you said, it's programmed into us that, oh, dude, we gotta do this. I gotta have the watch, the car, the house, and all these things. But then people go for a hike out in nature for an hour out of the city, and they're like, wow, like I feel great. And so there's got to be a balance somewhere in between there. And like you just said, man, like people that know my story, 2019, I walk into my 21st floor condo overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and I have everything that I spent the last 6 years working for and more. Literally, I don't know if you know this, Herb, but like the condo I lived in was overlooking both of the bars that I spent almost a decade of my life in San Diego, back when I knew for certain that I would never be able to change my life. Like when I was working at Gaslamp Tavern or at Hotel Del, I'm working in the Gaslamp at San Diego. I'm bartending. It's funny because I'm getting into my 30s, right? And I'm going, oh my God, I'm 30. What am I going to do with my life? I can't be a bartender forever. Anyways. And now, fast forward to doing these things that I've learned about personal development and business mastery. And I'm in a penthouse overlooking both of the bars that I thought I'd never leave. And in that moment, I still had never been more unhappy in my entire life. But the fucked up thing was, Herb, is that I didn't even know, because you don't know what you don't know. I didn't even know that spirituality. I mean, I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't grow up religious. I didn't grow up in a household that was spiritual. It was very material world. Not like, oh, we have all the things, but maybe like more of a lack of money or always worried about things. And so you're right, man. Here we go. Like what you're saying is that there's a connection between the energetic world and the physical world.
Yes.
The spiritual world, the physical world. And I think too many people don't understand that because they don't know.
And one of the really cool parts about that is as you bring your spirituality back, as you bring the being true to you back, as you find your center and your balance, then that makes your business grow in ways that you hadn't expected. You actually become more wealthy. Even if you don't necessarily get more money, your life becomes more wealthy. The friends that you develop, the heartfeltness, the way you connect with people changes, and your life grows like in all directions at once. So the wealth follows that, even if it's not necessarily in a money way, but usually once you get in that and you start following your passion and you make it part of your life, then the money does start coming in and flowing and growing.
Everything comes. And that's like the thing. That's the thing. And I don't hardly want to get started on this, right? Because anybody that knows me, that's actually real conversations with me off of camera, and I just don't talk about it that much, but I guess with this show, we're going to start talking more about it. Is obviously there's powers to be that don't want us to become the best that we can become or all we can become as human beings. Like, let's be real. All right. And it's interesting, her, because the more money I started to make and the higher level of rooms I started to get access to, I started to realize is that the people who had the most money and the most abundance were actually billionaires who were using astrology. They ran their business according to the stars, or they had spiritual coaches, or what they call them, spiritual advisors. Spiritual advisors they would talk to before they made any kind of multi-billion-dollar decision. Like the highest level people, Herb, were telling me that the things that the masses are programmed to think are crazy and we make fun of in movies and on TV shows and all of our pop culture, it's always the crazy spiritual person, or it's they make it so silly. They make it so goofy and just dumb, like in the movies, the way they dress, the way they act, that like anything that's associated with woo-woo is not taken serious by and large the people who need the most help. But when you get into the rooms of the actual people that are the wealthiest, they're the people taking it the most serious.
Yes.
And so there's a gap here, right? And that's why I wanted to have these conversations with you, and why I want to start to bring what you do more to the light in the mainstream, because it's like, okay, cool, dude. I tell people in my speaking events, I'm like, yo, I can teach you everything you need to know about making money to speak in like 15 minutes. But there's like 12 months of fucking work that we need to do for those 15 minutes of what I teach you to flow.
Work, yeah.
And most of it has to do with that, which I didn't understand how to teach back then, but I'm going to start unleashing now as I've made my comeback. Is it's more to do with spiritual like flow and energy than anything. And so let's talk about that, Herb. So like, what is it that you notice about what is it that would you say in your experience or in your knowledge or going through the Being True to You Academy program and things like this? What keeps most people limited in their spiritual development in the beginning? Like, so if I'm an entrepreneur, if I'm Marshall 1.0 and I just found out about personal development and I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm about it. Mindset is everything. And then I'm just off and running. That person, what kept me so limited in the beginning that I couldn't tap into that? Why do most people, why can't they see that?
Well, it really is about the programming, about the teasing, about the woo, even about the attack on Christianity right now, because a lot of these principles are discussed quite thoroughly in the Bible. And you know, even in a lot of businesses, they bring in spiritual verses and they talk about it, but then they kind of take a lot of the spirituality out of it and they move it into a brain science or, you know, repetitive action, and they take the spirituality, the meaning, the life out of it, and they teach it as, oh, if you do this. And part of what you were talking about earlier is like the law of attraction, The Secret. There was a movie called The Secret that came out a bunch of years ago, and it's really funny because several of those people in that movie have become my mentors and my business mentors through the years.
That's awesome.
And in that movie, they talk about how like the secret is just this really little thing. It's the power of intention. And when they showed it to these rich people, they were like, really, that's it? And yeah, but you know, we'll make fun of it over here so other people don't know about it. Right. And that's why it's called The Secret, because these spiritual tools, these underlying principles of the universe, which actually we are all part of the universe. We are absolutely bound by these laws that if you make fun of it and you tell people that that's not really what's happening, then you can have a modicum of control over them. And you know, there is a part of that, but there's also the part where businesses don't have souls and businesses don't have accountability. So some of these businesses, they start a process like, oh, I need to make more money for the business. So they do things and they say things to get more money from us as a business, but there's no accountability, there's no soul there. And so if you come after the business for saying, hey, you're not doing that right, it's like, oh, that's this person's responsibility, that's this person's responsibility. So some of it, there might be some like really bad intent at some level, but also it's the way our businesses are set up, because they are after a profit and it's not a person, right? But they're treated as people.
Right. No, you're right. And again, that gets me off on a whole other tangent. And I think there is an intention behind how the machine is set up. And I think that you'd probably agree too, but it's like, we just got done saying that the richest, most wealthiest, abundant people, they know the secret, and it's intention. It's a specific intention of what you want to create. And again, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to take a step back and actually take a big look picture of how the whole global machine is working, and understand that some things here are not necessarily adding up. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, they don't teach personal development in schools. They don't teach self-mastery or self-improvement. They don't teach you how to find a mentor. They don't teach you about entrepreneurship. Nothing that could possibly make a human being sovereign and free is taught to us at any point, anywhere in America, from the time that we're born until the time we die.
Not in public education, but
nowhere.
You got to get out of the fringe. You got to get into the woo-woo world, into the weirdness.
Exactly. It's like actually, so we have one of our viewers, if she's still on, her name is she goes by Mama Mo, but her name is Monique. She's a badass healer. I just met her this past weekend. She was out at KJ's women's retreat, one of the speakers and one of the VIP attendees. This woman's done a bunch of amazing things. Okay. But I bring this up to say, no, I lost my train of thought. What were we saying?
Businesses, moving.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. I was looking at her name and trying to remember what her name was, and I lost where I was going with that. Anyway, sometimes I talk fast. It'll come back to me in a second. But I know what it was. So Mama Mo is out here, and we're taking her back to the airport yesterday, actually, and I'm having a conversation with her as KJ's typing up a post, and her and I are talking about just some crazy, some crazy shit. How, you live multiple lives, and I think that our souls all have done life together. That's why we come back and keep reincarnating together. And, that heaven and hell exist here on earth. And there's a bunch of stuff that you don't really have a conversation with. And she's like, God, it feels so good to have these talks. Like, I can't have these conversations with other people. And so one of the things that you're saying, Herb, is, and that's what I wanted to kind of hone this in towards, is that's why it's so important to get to events. That's why I'm going to an event tomorrow, right? This week. That's why I'm telling you guys 3, 4, 5 events at least a year to go be around people who are like you, not just business, but all kinds of areas in your life. Monique is sitting here, this very accomplished woman, right? They've had dogs in Hollywood. They've had their dog breeders, right? They do a bunch of things. Dog breeders. One of their dogs is famous, was in a movie with Brad Pitt. Quentin Tarantino was in another movie. They've walked the red carpet. And this woman's telling me that she doesn't have a place to have conversations like this. Not because that those people don't believe, but she just hasn't ever felt open enough to have that kind of conversation. Now here we are in person, and that's able to happen. Same way that we became friends, Herb. Same way that we built a relationship. So
my life got really small because it seemed like suddenly I was only to have these kind of conversations. And so a lot of people around me, because this is the way I talk almost all of the time. So a lot of the people around me couldn't necessarily understand or get behind what I was talking about. So a lot of my friends kind of fell away. It wasn't like a bad breakup. It's just, there just wasn't as much there anymore. So it was like a drifting apart. And so when I started becoming more open about this, my circle got really, really small. And now it's actually starting to expand. Thanks a large part to you, but also because I am coming out more and more people are finding this valuable. So one of these things that I've always hid from people for my whole life, because it made me an outcast, because it made me feel wrong, is now suddenly like a sought after thing, because people are so lost and they're feeling disconnected from life. And so
absolutely true. And so let's talk about that, because that is one of the things that, you give me so much is this, when I need to be grounded and in my energy and kind of find and return to me. That's something that you just you have a gift of doing. It's one of your gifts, right? One of our viewers, Eli Torres, what's up, homie? If you're still on here, gangster, basically real estate investor, but I call him real estate developer, all over Latin America. It's awesome. Anyways, Eli says, getting out of the matrix. I couldn't agree more. And that is literally what I call it all the time to my friends. I'm like, dude, you got to unplug from the matrix. I'll tell my boys, dude, you got to unplug from the matrix for a little bit. Like, what do you mean,
but then again, if you watch that movie, when he takes that pill, what happens? He freaks the hell out. He wakes up. He can't move. He's in pain. Life is destroyed. But then he rebuilds himself in the truth, in what's true to him.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That is the part that, and that's you. You are the Morpheus in that regard. because
Yes, but I can make that transition a little easier because
right. And that's what I'm saying. I until you just said that, I never realized like that is what you do. That like as a psychospiritual coach, like basically once Neo takes the red pill, that's in the movie where you should have come in. Like boom. like because there's no better way to explain it. Because once you take the red pill, your whole life falls apart.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when I had kind of had an inkling, I mean, not really, but like an inkling. Then when 2020 hit, to me, and I'm not here to stir up controversy, allegedly for me, this is how it works, right? But something was afoot. I could tell I mean, dude, they canceled March Madness. So it was March 15th. I'm listening to the Pat McAfee show, and they're talking about March Madness being canceled. Now, I don't know if anybody else was thinking, but like, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that happens for 1 month a year. And I'm like, March Madness is canceled. Like, this must be serious. 2 days later, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, the world closes down. At that point, I'm taking a look at everything like something's not adding up here. And all these things started clicking in my head. Like, oh shit, if all this goes out, or if they pull this down, or this shuts down, like my mom and we will literally die in a matter of days. And so all this gets my wheels turning because, our viewers may not know, if you go back and watch some of the episodes, I built this awesome business and this awesome life. 2019, realized it was all bullshit. About a week later, I ended up randomly taking my very first ever psilocybin journey, and it blew my world to shit. I took the red pill. It was like it was 4-ACO DMT. So it's a synthetic version of psilocybin. So it's like the mushroom, but it was actually in a red pill case. Like the universe is funny, right? God is funny.
So I am going to bring a little controversy into it here just for a second.
Let's do it.
If you like go into YouTube and you find someone who was woke and took the red pill and started trying to find the truth and realize that what the wokeness was so wrong, what happens to them is their life falls apart. All their friends go away. Everybody starts like attacking them for being the other way. But then they wake up into this other life, and that other life then embraces them because it's like, oh, you see it. And once you're with those other people who can see it and actually are speaking in a truthful manner to you, then your life can start over and start growing again. So again, there's that controversial part, but again, if you go find some of these videos that is a leftist who suddenly came to the right, you can even kind of Google search like that stuff, and they'll talk about how all their friends started attacking him and their life just like went away. But then what comes up from that is so much better than what they lost.
Dude, 100% true. When I look back at that's kind of like what happened for me, right? Like I wasn't, and I'm not one way or the other. I mean, I guess if you had to label things, which I hate labels, but if you had to label me, I definitely am more conservative than I've ever been. But I think that's pretty normal as people get older, right? Like the older we get, a little bit more conservative we get usually. But like I was definitely the other way. Like I was living in Southern California. I believe people should do what they want. I had never touched a gun or anything like that. Like they scared the shit out of me. I didn't really care if you had one or not. But like all these crazy things, right? Not crazy things. I don't mean to be dismissive like that. I just leaned that other way. And so when my world was blown apart, I mean, I was already in like, self-love and all healing and all the things. But it was like a rude awakening to like, there are other energies at work in this reality that don't have my best interest as a free sovereign human. I think free and sovereign is basically the same thing. It's kind of redundant. As a sovereign human being in this reality, right? They didn't support that. And so I'm taking a look at what's going down in 2020, and not to judge what happened or not, but for me, that time period, the last 3 years, awoke me to start doing things that actually maybe end up making me feel better. Things that in 2020 were crazy. Yeah, my entire following, Herb, when I stopped talking about speaking all the time and traveling and doing things, and I had left California, and I was talking about taking cold baths, and I was getting in rivers, and I was going hiking in minus 10-degree weather in just a pair of shorts, and I was talking about bare feet on the ground, and I was talking about eating liver, and I was talking about breathing and meditating. Like people, Herb, this is only 3 years ago.
They fled.
People, they not only they fled, they were talking shit about me, dude. Like people that I knew and loved and that respected me, that on more than a few occasions sat with me personally, and we've had very real conversations. That people were like fucking jumping off my Marshal's train, man, and talking about me the whole way down. And I was so like, I didn't understand it. I mean, it's different now, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why you're coming out more, and definitely one of the reasons that we are connected. Maybe it's like, okay, I'm here to reflect that, but the collective is awakening.
Yes.
And so maybe I was just a little ahead of that awakening, or maybe not, whatever. Depends on who you're talking to. If it's compared to you, no, I'm like fucking 3 decades behind, right?
And right now it is so important that more people wake up, because if people don't wake up and start speaking truth, not their truth, but truth, not
Yes.
my truth or somebody else's truth, but it's like, truth, like water's wet, the sky is blue currently. um you know, then our society isn't going to make it. So we do need more people to wake up out of that matrix, because we're in a trajectory that's really kind of detrimental right now. But I see a future that is, once we start working together in cooperation instead of competition,
Right.
then what can be is so amazing what we can achieve. Because
Agreed.
right now it's like, oh, there's a problem. Well, let's stop all this. Let's shut that down. Instead of, hey, there's a problem. Let's see how we can grow and what ideas we can come to make this problem into something better, and to take this mess and make it a message to grow the world. Not, like you take your mess and make it your message. Let's take the mess of the world, and instead of stopping stuff and taking money away from it and pulling all of the resource out of it, let's take that mess and make it a message to the world and bring the world up as well. So so instead of, we just need, I see a future where if that happens, it just keeps it's like the cyclical going up instead of instead of up and down, it's more of a spiral.
And isn't that's really how the flow of life, and actually, right, if we got to do even deeper conversation, time is actually like a funnel like this, right?
Yes.
And so it's like, let's get back to what you were saying though. Mama Mo, real quick, one of our live viewers says, yes, this conversation is everything. Mama Mo, we appreciate you. To everybody that's listening or watching this on replay, I just want to remind you that this show streams live daily-ish on YouTube and Facebook, and you can listen to us on every podcast platform. So go back, listen to the episodes. We've been shooting them since 2016. But Herb, let's talk about this, because it's you're right. Like you're right about all those things. And so what she says, yes, this conversation is everything. Let's expand that, because more people do need to talk about the truth. And I love how you say not my truth, but truth. Like, let's take a look objectively and logically at things that are going down, and saying like, okay, well, what is it that we're missing? How can we do this? And what comes to my mind, and I didn't mean for it to take this turn, but since we're here at this point in the conversation, I've got to just bring it up, because right now there's some things happening in the world at the time of shooting this that like are pretty fucking crazy, dude. And the media, big media, is not really talking about what's really going down. I mean, there's bits and pieces of it and fragments, but it's crazy to think about the fact that right now, as of today, there's possibly the first case of human to human transaction of the most recent bird flu, of a little girl who died, her dad that contracted it. There's China and Russia and Ukraine and NATO that are crazy things. Like, if anything, DEFCON is probably at the highest it's ever been, and literally all the time. And yet nobody's really talking about these things publicly or on the mainstream media. The reason I bring this up, Herb, is it seems like we're at a tipping point for this experience, one way or the other. And so one of the things that maybe want to spark this show back up, and it's great with Top Paid Speaker, and it's great the coaching programs and stuff I do, but I'm starting to be more comfortable with the reality that I have a bigger message and a mission in this world. And I've always been the habitual line stepper. I've always been willing to say the fucking shit that most people are not going to be willing to say. And so I figure, you know what, Herb, let's have this conversation, because you know that I believe that I'm a shaman. Like, I've been a shaman in multiple lives. I know you're a healer. We know we've come back. Kirsty's a freaking priestess witch. So what I'm saying is like, in this time, we're having this conversation about energy, spirituality, and the material world. What do you recommend? Because I know that you know about all this stuff, even if you're not really talking about it, right? What are we supposed to be doing right now as a spiritual community? Okay, cool. Like, yes, some of us are waking up, and I'm not telling us let's burn down our businesses and everything's coming to an end. But I'm saying, maybe it's time to start to be prepared for a worst case scenario. And in that regard, I'm not talking about going out and creating bunkers, but Herb, as a spiritual community and as a spiritual leader, what is it that we're supposed to be doing right now? How do we navigate this time through awakening and real life turmoil?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to not be afraid, because you were talking about gurus, so that brought up for me mine, this gentleman named Sadhguru.
Yeah, love soccer.
And one of the things he talks about is in the Western world, it's, oh, I have to do this to get this to become this. And so it's like, and he says that's exactly backwards. So if you're trying to do something to get something, like, oh, I need to do this so I can get money and be rich and then I'll be happy. And he says that's exactly backwards. You have to be happy, then you can like do and get, but you have to be what you want to be first. So part of the powers that be and all of this, the stories about the bird flu and the war and all of this, that's actually a really minor thing that's kind of going on in the world. It's a really small geographical area, but they blow it so big out of proportion to make people afraid, because fear is such a low vibration. It weakens people internally and mentally, and it allows them to be more easily controlled. So a lot of the pandemic was about fear. A lot of the racial tensions and is about fear to lower our vibrations. So the most important thing that you can really do is to find that non-fear, that sense of peace within yourself, to become centered and grounded, and to not let that stuff bring you down. So it's to raise your own vibrational frequencies, and you can raise them by finding things that you enjoy, being happy. And it's not like, oh, just do all the stuff that I like and screw them. Right. The stuff that makes you grounded, and it makes your family better, and it makes your community better, and then it makes your world better. So it's not like this selfishness, but it's growing in maturity and maintaining your sense of balance, so that these fluctuations don't take you out. And even right now, with the sun being so active, like we had 2 major solar flares hit Earth and took the KP index, which is a health index, by the way, because the sun affects our planet like tremendously. Right. So 2 solar flares have been flooding our planet. It just kind of eased up this morning. And so a lot of there's been so many excursions from this, and mental issues and heart issues because of this. So you need to protect yourself from that as well. And if you're in fear and you're bringing your energy down, then these other high energies can like take you out more. So by becoming centered, by doing your meditation, by doing your prayer, by doing your work, and not letting the outside world pull you away from yourself, then you will be able to more withstand the trials and tribulations that are here and are coming, and without that fear that is going to destabilize you.
Yeah. Dude, yes, like all the way. Yes, that was fire. I could not agree more. And that leads us into what the next part of the conversation was, in which we came back here to talk about today, which is why it's so important to get around other people who can support you and help you grow, and who you can help and support grow, right? Because contribution, like giving, is living. And so contribution is just as important as getting support, because it's what makes us thrive as a human, not only just the community, but that contribution, the back and forth. It's like what we thrive on best as humans. But here in Western society, we've by and large been pitted against each other. So most people don't realize that. But again, I'm starting to digress. So that is why it's so important, though. Like, that's why I'm telling people, like, yo, you've got to get out and go to 3, 4, 5 events a year, whatever they look like. Maybe one for business, maybe one for your relationship, maybe one for parenting, maybe one for being a man or a woman. Like, all I'm saying is, like, what areas of your life do you want to get better at? And what areas of your life do you want to continue to master?
And don't just go to events where you're sitting and listening to people.
Right.
Go to events where you get to talk to people and you get to work out things that are going on in your life, because to be able to think clearly, you have to be able to speak, because if you don't speak, then the thoughts get churned up and get messed up. And as you speak, if people hear you and like they react weirdly, then you can say, is what I'm saying correct? Is what I'm saying true? So you can judge kind of by your reactions whether you're in the right kind of place or not. And
Yes.
sometimes if they're reacting bad, but you know you're in the right place, then you know you need to find different people. But sometimes if you're talking with who you know is the right kind of people, and you're saying things and they're kind of redirecting you a little bit, it can help you find your center. So there's a getting the garbage out. And it's not always necessarily garbage. It's like getting the words out so that they're not stuck in your head, and then you can come up with clearer thoughts. So the events help you to clear yourself as well. And as you clear, you can gauge how close you are to what's going on, and see, it's like, oh, maybe that's not right. Maybe I am a little off there. Now, how can I find that? And it can help like guide your life into more beneficial directions.
Yes, like 100%. And I love that you mentioned that. But, there's basically 3 types of events that I go to. I go to like conferences, like a sit down and listen to the speakers event with networking. I go to mastermind events. So when I want to learn a skill in particular, smaller group, and then going deep, probably on a couple of days, or 2 or 3 days, going deep on some sort of a mastermind issue where people are coming together to learn and work together. And then the third kind of event I go to is like immersions and retreats. And so that's really great for anybody that's listening or viewing. Those are the 3 types of events I go to: conferences, masterminds, and immersion retreats. And one of the things that's become a staple for me since 2017, Herb, I started hosting them myself every year except for 2020, since back to 2017. And I've gone to other people's as men's retreats. Like, getting myself to at least one men's event or immersion a year has been a game changer for me, because I get to come together with other men and we get to have these kinds of talks privately over a fire, or after we just did breath work for 30 minutes and we're bawling on the ground as we've released all this energy that we don't even know why we're fucking crying, because
Don't say that. Don't say that. That's going to keep people from coming. That's going to keep people from coming. That's the surprise. That's the release. Don't give away those kind of secrets too early.
It's like, it happens when we're getting in the ice tub and there was the one guy who thought he couldn't, and we all get out and we're supposed to be colder, but we're actually hotter. We're on fire as our skin is fighting. Thermodynamics are kicking in, and you're like, there's nothing more powerful than that. And so you and I know, and I most just recently learned, but basically that is a medicine in and of itself. Like brotherhood is a medicine.
Yeah.
An ice bath can be a medicine. Like anything basically can be a medicine. So before we go a little bit deeper, can you speak to that just a little bit to a viewer who doesn't maybe understand what I'm saying? Like, what does it mean when I'm saying like anything can be a medicine? Like brotherhood is a medicine. What does that mean, a medicine, Herb?
A medicine is wow, that's a really interesting question. I hadn't heard it put to like that before. Well, the core of it is you are the medicine. I am the medicine. So when I have these events or these getting in the ice bath, then it allows you to hack into your own self, gain power over your own thoughts about your own abilities and what you can and can't do. And as you get into yourself, and it's like, I am stronger than I thought. I am more intelligent than I thought. I'm not alone. Then that goes inside of you at a really deep level, and it's like, well, if I can do this here, can I bring this into the rest of my life? And that brings a settling, that brings a growth, that brings a just again a sense of peace that I can do more than I thought. And especially in speaking, so getting out and being, again, like getting out and being able to talk with your fellow men, or in groups like this we are here, it allows you to hear things and put things in your body in a way that fills in little holes. And so maybe that gap that is like, I feel hollow here, suddenly there's a little more information that fills in that gap, and then it starts growing and you can move more into life in a better way. 100%. So medicines can be all sorts of varied things that tend to help you grow your life into a more useful to you kind of a way.
Yeah, more flow, more free flow, more abundance, more prosperity, just more of the joys of living, of being alive.
But now when we actually do get into like the plant medicines, and it's kind of funny they're called plant medicines, because some of them are from toads, some of them are are man-made. So like LSD and MDMA are lab created, but they accelerate the process. And some
How so?
people,
How so?
um,
How do plants do that? What do you mean?
okay, so what you did when you went into that island and took your psilocybin, okay, you could have got there over several years of learning to breathe, of working with people on how to see things
Wow.
differently, of meditation, and you could have slowly built and grew that so that you could sit in a space and bring that awareness to you. Okay. And there's quite a few actually religious people that are really against psychedelics because they feel it's a cheat, because you haven't done the work to get that
Yeah.
kind of knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but there is a cost to that, because that acceleration can be incredibly painful, incredibly stressful. Um, even with guides, because again, you're going to look out and see life like you did, and it's like, oh wow, so this is there. I haven't seen, how have I missed this? And it can destabilize a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
So true.
so that there's a cost to that acceleration. But
Yeah.
some people are in such a desperate need of that
I
it's
was.
worth that cost to have that happen. And then again, that's why having a coach through that is actually so important, to be helping you through that.
Dude, and plant medicine is, and the popularity of using plant medicine is rising
Yeah.
fast as the collective starting to awaken, and we're getting more tapped into the way that the energy works in our lives. Plant medicine use is really, it's rapidly growing, and people are finding that it's not this terrible, terrible, awful thing that druggies use, like our government has taught us that all these years. It's like, no, man, like people are actually using these plant medicines to heal and or reverse all kinds of symptoms, physically, emotionally, mentally. And there's incredible utilities to these things that we didn't know about. Herb, something that just popped into my mind when you were talking back then, it'd be a cool t-shirt is if like somebody illustrated like a brain with like arms and legs, and a heart with like arms and legs, and like a little mushroom with arms and legs, no faces. And if it was like a bunch of brains standing in line to get like into some door, and then there was a heart back here, and the mushroom was standing at a line like, hey, you want a shortcut? Like, that'd be funny. That'd be a funny shirt. Like, want to cut the line? Want
Right.
to cut the line? Yeah. Anyways, inside joke. Okay, cool. So medicine, we're realizing that literally anything can be a medicine when applied with intention, or to, that with that kind of, intention, because you are the medicine. And I love when you say that, because it's true. Like, you are the medicine, like you are everything. Everything comes from you. I always like to kind of start to think about this paradox. It's like, well, when I die and the lights go out, does the universe really exist? I mean, it doesn't to Marshal Gillen anymore. Like, it goes black. So in that regard, like, is it real? I don't know. Anyways, what I'm starting to understand is that what you're saying is that we are the medicine, everything comes from us. And what we're learning and becoming more adept to, and more, like it's becoming more commonplace, is that plant medicine can actually, what you just said, is collapse time. It
Yes.
can close the gap from where I'm at to where I want to be without the years of practice. I get it. I understand that some people they can be mad, like let them be, whatever. It's probably just more of a them thing because they dedicated all their time and energy to it. Now they feel like you're doing some kind of service, whatever. The universe has a plan, and God has a plan for all of us. These plant medicines exist for a reason. Like, God would not have made them for whatever, right? Like, you can't convince me that Moses in the burning bush wasn't really just like, I don't even know, some kind of plant medicine on fires. Oh shit, man, I see God. Like, these are the 10 things. I don't mean to be funny and discredit religion. I don't want to get anybody upset. That's not what we're doing. I'm just making a joke. Anyways, so Herb, what we're learning now in this episode is that you are the medicine. So basically anything can be a medicine. Plant medicine shortcuts all of this stuff, not like in a lazy way, but just allows you to arrive at this place so you can feel it, be it, see it before you come back to here, and then work your way back to understanding, oh, that's exactly what it feels like. How do I get myself back there? And what we've talked about in the very beginning of this episode is that coming together, getting yourself to events, and being around the right-minded people and physical energy is a game changer. So when we combine all these things together, we really arrive at the things that you and I are kind of planning and wanting to do together, which is host more men's retreats, host more not necessarily plant medicine retreats, but integration retreats. Maybe down the road, there is some sort of a journey like where you and your shaman friend get together and you guys are able to facilitate these medicine retreats. So where do you see all this going? Like how does this all work going forward in 2023? I mean, what do people need to take away from this episode of this podcast, after listening to all this? Like, what is the big takeaway from Coach Herb's, advice?
Well, the big takeaway, if you're specifically thinking about medicine, would totally be to get a coach who is trained in it, because there are a lot of different kind of medicines and there are a lot of reasons to take the different kinds. So it's like if you broke your arm and you were in a lot of pain, you would take probably like an opiate, but you wouldn't take an antidepressant because you broke your arm.
Right.
So there are, depending on the kind of issues you have and your personality, there are different medicines that would help different kinds of things. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to go take this and everything's going to be okay. It's, oh, I'm going to take this and I'm going to now have work to do, and I get to go do that now. So these red pills, these medicine work is not a magic pill. And don't think, oh, I get to take this and then I don't have to do anything because I'm fixed. These show you where your life has holes in it, and it gives you an opportunity to start growing things into that, to do the work, to bring yourself forward. So that would be one of my what I would want to be one of the takeaways is it's not magic. It's not, I get to take this and I don't have to do anything anymore. And big pharma right now is kind of getting into the medicine world, and they're all like, oh, you can take this pill for and use it like an antidepressant now. But if you do that and you keep taking it like an antidepressant, it will eventually stop working like other antidepressants. It won't fill your life. You won't grow what you need to do. And it'll just be masking the symptoms that you will then have to deal with farther down the road. And the longer you put them down the road, the bigger they get. But it doesn't mean you're not capable of dealing with it or working with it. It just means it's more that you're going to have to work on.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, like, you nailed it. And that is it. Like, that was my problem. I didn't take any of that stuff to try to fix a problem. It just happened, right? Like, randomly, like it just came into my life because I guess I had been trying to outmaneuver the universe for too long. So it finally pinned me down. It's like, it's time to wake up, bitch. But yeah, that's what happened to me. And so listen, I'm not a scientist or a doctor or anything. Okay. But if you're a driven individual like I am, if like you are a go-getter, somebody that wants to do big things, but you've reached a point in your life where no matter what you achieve, you don't necessarily feel a happiness. It's always like, okay, the next thing. Like you work and you finally get the thing, and as soon as you get it, you don't feel anything from it, and you're like, fuck, what's next? If that's you, you should probably try some psilocybin. I'm just going to say it. Like, that's me. I'm not a doctor or scientist. Like, this is not medical advice. I'm just telling you, this is not the advice for everybody. But if you're somebody like me, you might want to fucking think about trying some psilocybin in a ceremony, not just like, yo, let me go talk to my guy and eat some mushrooms at my house and see how it goes. Like, treat it with intention. I promise you that if you go all crazy and woo-woo and you treat the plant like a living being, like with intention and respect, and you honor it in ceremony with somebody who can actually help you do it, who knows what they're doing. If you take and try psilocybin like that, it will unlock things inside of you that you never knew existed. So I wholeheartedly believe that if you're like me and you haven't tried it yet, you need to go figure that shit out. You can't come to me. I don't have mushrooms. Don't come ask me. Coach Herb doesn't have mushrooms. Don't go ask him. Okay. That's the first thing you need to do, is seriously consider going on a psilocybin journey. The second thing that you need to immediately do upon booking that is you need to link up with Coach Herb and get a recovery plan, like, for your life. Like, how do I integrate this? And Coach Herb will help you do that. You get on the phone with Coach Herb, you work out the details, you guys will work together, and you don't have to go on the medicine journey alone. Like, there's no kickback. I'm not affiliated with Coach Herb. I'm just saying, like, this is what I would recommend if you are somebody like me who wants to build $1 million businesses, but is also kind of skeptical of how everything's going, right? Like, if you're like me and you have this big message, but you're something that was missing, like I was, go take some psilocybin, call Coach Herb about working with him so you can figure your shit out and get your ass to an event, preferably one of my events, because you come to one of my events, I know I'll change your life. But my events are not the fit for everybody. So if it's not my events, get to somebody's events. Find somebody that you click with, that has the people that you want to be like going to it, who's a leader, who's living the type of lifestyle that you want to live, that does and bees the kinds of things that you want to do and be and have. Okay. That's why Coach Herb and I do what we do, because some people want to be like us. Some people think we're fucking crazy, whatever. So take some mushrooms, call Coach Herb, get your ass to one of my retreats.
Call Coach Herb, then do mushrooms.
Okay. See, that's why Coach Herb's a professional, and I still got that shit backwards. Okay, call Coach Herb, then get the mushrooms. And then I don't know if you remember the movie Basketball, but these two dorks in Basketball, there's a slogan. They're like, first we get the khakis, then we get the jobs, then we get the girls. That's what this reminds me of, man. First you get Coach Herb, then you plan the event, then you get the mushrooms. All right, dude. Is there anything you want to leave these people with today? We covered a lot.
Just a kind of little funny thing I thought of just a minute ago, because there's a lot of psychedelics in Silicon Valley. That's how a lot of the innovations and stuff that was going on there. So if you like start to do any research on psychedelics, you will see a lot of referrals back to Silicon Valley, Psychedelic Valley. So Silicon and Psychedelic Valley. So, there are so many people in that upper high echelon world that are doing this microdosing, daily basis, journeys. So it's not, this is one of those secrets that a lot of these really rich people keep hidden, is there's a lot of this out there as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess you're probably right. I mean, a lot of times too, I mean, you watch some of these TV shows that are super popular and you're like, LSD, right? Like the person that wrote this was on LSD, right? Like, I was in, right?
Right. Well, I have taken some DMT journeys, and it's like, holy cow, this is the artwork in the Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
So the colors, the shapes, the way people is like, this is the Yellow Submarine. And so, and actually it's kind of funny because DMT, when you extract it, is a yellow powder. So the Yellow Submarine. So, that just is another thing that just kind of popped into my head. So,
Coach, are you dropping by next week? Are you going to keep kicking it with me once a week?
Absolutely.
All right. So I got a lot of questions now. See, you do this to me. This is what you do to me. This is what you do to our audience. Okay. We talk about this one whole thing and we get to the end of the show and I say, hey, Herb, you have anything you want to leave us with? And then you leave us with this cliffhanger that I got to be worried about until all next week. So here's the deal, Gillen gang. If you want to know what this cliffhanger is going to be about too, like, did Steve Jobs invent the iPhone because he was taking mushrooms? I don't know. Coach Herb may not either, but we're going to ask him next week and figure out what the hell is going on, because Coach Herb just opened my mind to a whole bunch of new stuff. Coach, as always, thank you so much for what you do. I appreciate your time and energy, brother. It's always an honor to have you here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, brother.
Later, man. Hey, there you have it, y'all. Another episode of the Marshal Gillen Show, episode number 137 with my good friend and psychospiritual coach, Coach Herb. You guys, Coach Herb at Heagh-Avritt. Hey, last thing before I hop off again, you guys know that I'm also the founder and CEO of Top Paid Speaker, where we're helping leaders and influencers, authors, coaches, speakers book more stages, write best-selling books, launch a top-rated podcast, and host their own events. And if that's something you're into, me and some of my friends, Coach Herb will be out there. I got some more guest speakers. We're going to be spending a weekend in May 4th through May 7th in this place right here. It's called The Lodge on Whitefish Lake. You guys can see that's Whitefish, beautiful Whitefish Lake up here in northwestern Montana. The Lodge is right there. It's going to be amazing in May. We got all kinds of good stuff happening. If you're interested in coming out to that event, if you're somebody that wants to learn how to monetize your message, how to monetize your audience, and how to leverage that to create opportunities for you to go out there and make a difference in the world, to be able to be philanthropic, to be able to give away money. See, I'm not smart enough to give away money, but I like giving away money. If that's stuff that you're into, being around other high-level individuals who are also hosting events, writing books, hosting podcasts, hosting events, then you're going to be out here. So you guys can find more information at toppaidspeaker.com for tickets, times, details. But other than that, it's another episode of the Marshal Gillen Show. I appreciate you guys so much. It would mean absolutely nothing without you here. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, for tuning in, for viewing. Be a friend, tell a friend, share this with somebody you know, love, and trust. And I'll see you guys soon. Later.